What is going on, everybody? We are glad to see you here today. We're going to have a great conversation today with Akeem Smith, church planter extraordinaire in the Bay region of California. We are glad to see each and every one of you here today, and we're going to be talking specifically about priorities, putting in the big rocks first. It's going to be a great conversation. But before we go any further, welcome. We are glad you're here. I'm actually in California myself, Akeem, today. I'm at Camp Ironwood in Southern California doing a planning retreat for 2023. So spending some time alone with Jesus and loving every minute of it. But wanted to take a break out to make sure I was with my brothers and sisters in this room today. Well, before we go any further, I'm going to throw it over to my partner, my pal, Jeremy Rands. Take it away.
Hey guys, it's good to see you. I'm excited about our time together with Akeem today. I know Akeem's going to have a great roundtable, and I'm excited about the discussion with our group as well. Adam, it's good to see you, Adam. And Adam is on here often, and so thank you, Adam, for being faithful to the roundtable. I know that encourages those that are around you, and also especially this month as we are really breaking out, and encourages those that are in a breakout to stay faithful as well. And so thank you for continuing to be on. I'm going to ask you to pray, ask the Lord's blessing on this topic today and in our breakout time.
Absolutely. Father, we're so thankful for the opportunity to come together once again today. Just trying our best, Lord, to progress your kingdom, to do the work in the ministry. And so, God, I pray that you would bless our time together. Pray for Akeem as he brings forth this topic. May you just use it, God, to make us better ministers for you. God, I do want to bring up as well, God, we pray for Logan and the scans next week. Lord, just pray for you to do exactly what your word says and what Tony has been praying for as well. Do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can even ask or thanks. We pray for those appointments next week, and we ask that you would just continue to work in that situation. But bless our time together now, and we ask in your son Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Adam, for opening us up in prayer. I'm excited to see you guys today. I'm excited about the breakout sessions. Some of my guys are already on here that we had last week in my room. And so I'm excited to have a little continuity with that. The Idea Summit is just around the corner. We sent out our weekly email last week, and you would have gotten your promo code where you can get a discount. Make sure that you utilize that sooner than later. Go ahead and get registered for the summit. I'm looking forward to all of that. I think last week we revealed all the sessions that are going to be there at the summit, in addition to the big plenary sessions as well, and those speakers. Today we have got Akeem Smith with us. Akeem's been with us before. He and his wife Jamie are church planters of Storyline Church in the San Francisco Bay Area of Oakland. And I'm excited about his talk today. 4 big rocks, talking about priority, things that we need to get done. And so Akeem, I'm glad that you're here today. Thanks for being with us. I'll kick it over to you.
Hey, Jason. Glad to be with y'all as well. I always look forward to jumping on and being encouraged and being helped by the guys that are here. And it's so cool that there's like familiar faces that are here pretty consistently, which helps the continuity and helps the relationships and the growth as well. So it's good to see everyone back on the call today. But I'm excited about this talk. What I'm about to share today has really helped me get better as a pastor, as a church planter, as a leader, as a spouse. And so I'm really hoping that it'll help us as well. And so I like to share things that I'm currently walking through and not things that I'm like, 2, 4, 5 clicks ahead, but currently I'm literally, it's hot for me. It's on the stove. And so I want to share it with you because it's fresh on my heart and that God's been using in my life. And so we're going to jump into it today about the 4 buckets, the 4 big rocks and the 4 buckets of execution that I'm going to share. So I want to begin the talk just by saying, right, as pastors and ministry leaders, whether you're a student pastor, associate, or nonprofit leader like Kylie and others on the call, we're all responsible for vision, right? And that's just the never-ending series of driving culture, developing people, and supervising systems. And so the one thing though that we do every day that ensures, right, that that vision is accomplished is what is it? It's decision making. Making decisions is what really helps drive the culture, develop people, and supervise systems, because that's what we have to do every day. And so Teddy Roosevelt said this: in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing, and the next best thing is the wrong thing, and the worst thing you can do is nothing. And I don't know about you, but with all the decisions that I have to make as a pastor, as a leader, as a church planner, as a spouse, sometimes can be overwhelming, right? And to the default that some things don't get done because I suffer from decision fatigue. And so I think what will help us separate and get things done is to separate the decision from the action, right? The decision from the implementation, which is the part that's overwhelming. And so one of my mentors in my life, I forget who said it, but once somebody in my life said this, I know I didn't, but they said this: leaders need two books, one on how to make the right decisions and the other on how to implement those decisions. And that's right there is a lot to unpack, because it's, I don't know about you, but that's true for me, right? Making the right decisions, but also how to implement those decisions after they've been made. And so the content and template I want to share today will help us as leaders get better at getting the right things done, right? And that's a skill that we all need to develop as the organization, as the church gets bigger, as it gets more complex, as people come, as they leave, as the size and the scale, all those different things, right? But we need to develop the skill and systems that we can put into play so that there's this regular cadence that we can go back to getting the right things done, because of what's most important. Because some of you know that what's always urgent is not what's always most important, right? And so two things I want to share with us. First is the big rocks, the 4 big rocks. And this is really about deciding, and our questions in our breakout discussion is going to help us with this, but we decide what the 4 big rocks are, right? And then I want to give you also, because I want this to be practical and helpful, the second thing, which is the 4 buckets of execution, right? After you've decided what those 4 big rocks are, how do you go about implementing them in your week? And so the 4 big rocks are, it's this, my mentor says, it's this quarterly habit that you have of getting away every quarter and praying and choosing the top 3 things that need to get done today. They need to get done for the next quarter. And so it's the question that, what's the one thing, if got done, would make everything else better, right? And so he says, hey, get ready for that for a quarter. And for that quarter, you decide what are the 3 top things that needs to be done that, if got better, would make the greatest difference in the church and would move the vision forward. And so for me, I've got those 4 big rocks that are continuity. They're the same every year, right? I break down my year in those seasons. For us, we don't try to work on big rocks we don't take like 2 or 3 big rocks per quarter. We work on 1 big rock. So a big rock would be something like, for us, it's like Activate. Activate at Storyline is what makes everything better at Storyline. It's a once-a-month event that takes place at our church. This is how we get the most people onboarded onto a crew, which is small groups, onboarded into a serving team, the dream team here at Storyline, or make Sundays better. And so Activate is that one thing that we do for us, one of the big rocks for us. Another big rock is like make Sundays better, right? If we make Sundays better, everything gets better. Here's another big rock, small groups or serving, right? These are big rocks for us. And so we don't try to tackle, multiple big rocks per quarter, because they're big rocks, right? You can't move 2 big rocks at the one time. And this is oftentimes what happens, I think, and at least in my story, it's like I'm trying to do multiple big rocks in 1 quarter, and one doesn't actually get done, and the other is barely finished, right? And it's moved. And so strategically taking the quarter and working on 1 big rock and saying, what are the top 3 things that, if got better in this big rock area, would move the ball forward, right? Would move the church forward. Balance is unreasonable, but seasons are sustainable. And so if we could just take one big rock per season and we drive it in that quarter, it'll actually make the greatest difference. And so, man, we need to decide what are those big rocks for us as a church, as a staff team, as volunteers, as we lead our church. And we'll see the greatest difference. And one of my mentors, he says this, he says, great leaders need to do the next right thing. And when we do the right things, the right way, for the right reasons, for the right length of time, we'll get the right results. Right? We can't stop prematurely and say, oh man, I moved that big rock in this season in let's say quarter one, right? I moved that big rock, but it didn't make a big difference. But if you keep doing the right things, the right way, for the right reasons, for the right length of time, you'll get the right results. And so we got to identify what those big rocks are. And to move the ball forward with that. There's more to go into that, but I do got to move on. I'm going to get to some things that could be practical, helpful for all of us. So that's the first thing, the 4 big rocks. And then once you've identified what those rocks are, here are kind of the 4 buckets. This is, for me, a weekly template that I've put into buckets to help get the right things done, right? Those big rocks serve as the anchor points to help me get the right things done, but to actually have a cadence and a rhythm for a weekly template, a weekly flow, I use the 4 buckets. And so some books, resources that you'll hear that have been helpful for me in this subject, quickly I just give them to you, like David Allen, Getting Things Done. I think it's Brian Tracy book on Eat the Frog. This is about like 21 ways to stop procrastinating and get more things done in less time. It's a really, really good book. And then another book is Organize for Success. These are some things that top executives do and CEOs, some principles that they've incorporated into their daily rhythms to get things done. And so those are some resources. But here are the top 4, the 4 buckets really quickly. I'll give them to you and then we'll come back and put filters on each of those buckets. That's been very helpful for me, and it started out with just 2 buckets, but then I discovered as I put the filters on, it helped me realize there's not just 2 buckets, there's actually 3, and then there's actually 4. And so the first bucket is to do. How many of you have like a to-do list? Show of hands. How many have a to-do list? Right, I have a to-do list too, and then I realized, oh my gosh, as a church planner, that to-do list is 80 stinking things long. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, like this is like, there's no way I get all this done in a week. And so there's 4 buckets. It's not just one. It's a to-do list, and then there's a to decide list, and there's a to delegate list, and a to develop list. And I'll give you the filters that help those make sense in a second here. So that to-do list, for me, how I map out my 4 buckets is on the front end of every week, and that's on Sunday night. Sunday night, I sit down, and 9 months ago when I started doing this, it took me, like 35 minutes to do this, but then I got better and better and better at it. It's now like down to 20 minutes. And so on the front end of the week, on that Sunday night, I'll take 20 minutes and I'll map out. David Allen says, like, hey, get as much thing off of your brain into a capture folder or a capture journal or your notes on your iPhone, whatever it is. Get as much things down as possible. Write it all down. It's in your brain. Get it on paper. And then once you've done that, then decide what you need to do. And the filter is it actionable? All right. And then the other bullet point filter is it something that only I can do? Right. If it's something, how many of you know that like you have a lot of stuff that you have to do with that have nothing to do with being a pastor, right? And some of those things you do have to do, and some things you don't. And so you have to decide, is it something that only you can do? And if it's not, then you need another bucket for it. And it's a to delegate bucket, right? And that to delegate bucket is who is going to do it instead of you, right? And when is it going to be done by? And so on Sunday night, I'll just map it all out and get it all on this, bucket. And then there's that to decide bucket. What needs to be decided, and by when does it need to be decided by? right? What needs to be decided and when does it need to be decided by? And then that to develop bucket. And these are projects that will take 8 hours to complete, right? So it's usually around sermon content or a system that needs to be developed or a roundtable discussion that needs to be done, right? And so if I know what's in that bucket, that to develop bucket, if I know that, like, okay, I do need to develop that leadership talk for our Thursday leadership meeting that meets monthly. So if I know that's coming up on the list and that's in that bucket, then throughout the week, throughout my days, I'm just stocking the pantry, right? I'm stocking the pantry of what needs to be done, and I'm putting away content and getting ready for that leadership meeting or for that roundtable discussion or for that, fill in the blank that takes 6 to 8 hours. And I take these 60 to 90-minute increments and I work on them. Because I think a lot of us have stuff we need to get done that needs to be developed. But what oftentimes happens is that deep work aspect of what we do that needs a 60 to 90-minute increment to actually work on it to get it done. Because the to-do list takes 5 minutes. It's sending an email, right? It's responding to so-and-so, right? Whatever that may be. And then that decide list, it helps separate that decision from the implementation. It's like, I do need to decide this. And so I just need to put it in this bucket, and I need to figure out when do I need to decide it by, right? Because again, it's the decision fatigue that happens. It's like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. It's like, no, let's put it in the decide list, and you come back to it, and you know when you need to get it done by, right? That's that decide list. So it's like for us coming up here in the last quarter is a gala. So for us, that Storyline Vision season happens from August to November. And in the middle of that, we have what's called a gala, and it's an event, black and white event, that we dress up, we come and we cast vision for what we want to see accomplished as far as like resources for that offering Sunday. And so right now I have it on my decide list. I'm like, hey, I need to decide when I need to decide this by and what all needs to go into that, right? So things like that. And then to delegate list, I already mentioned that. Who's it going to do it instead of you, and by when will they get it done? And then that develop list. But these are kind of the two big things I want to talk about: the 4 buckets, and then also the 4 major big rocks that we need to be done. And so I do have a challenge for us after you discuss those questions, and challenges at let's say for a whole month. Take a whole month. And at the beginning of every week, that's Sunday, right? The beginning of every week of the month, if you have the opportunity to print out, or you can get a Moleskine journal, whatever it is, and write down those 4 buckets. Put in one's upper left-hand corner to do, upper right-hand to decide, bottom left to delegate, and then bottom right to develop. And just get it all out on paper, print it out, and just decide what those things are on the front end of the week, and see if it helps in helping you getting the right things done. We get a lot of things done as leaders, but are we getting the right things done that actually move the church and move the vision and drives culture, develop people, and supervise systems? And so there are 4 questions we're going to break out for our discussion, and I'll let Jason or whoever that is next to take that away.
All right, thanks, Akeem. Yeah, I'm going to throw these questions that Akeem gave into the chat. I love what he said right there at the very end. As leaders, we get a lot done, but are we getting the right things done? That was so good. Great way to end it. Here are the questions. What one skill do you need to improve to get better at getting the right things done? To do, to decide, to delegate, to develop. 2, what are your 4 big rocks? 3, what's the top 3 things that if they got done this quarter would make everything else better? And then number 4, if you could only get 3 things done this week, what would they be? So we started these new breakout rooms last week that Josh and Jeremy and I get to moderate for you guys. We're going to jump into those today and have some good discussion. We'll see you back here in a few minutes.
We're going to jump in and, the recording has started. Did you hear that? Maybe it was recording before and they're just recording this breakout. Yeah. We are glad you're here. And we're going to be talking about the the questions that were just proposed by Akeem. And let me see, I'm pulling these up again. There we go. Okay, so we're talking when he talks about what one skill do you need to improve to get better at getting the right things, he talked about to do, to delegate list. I'm interested in perspective on this, but I'm going to go first, and I want to hear from every single one of you. My problem is not, in fact, I'm often done faster than I'm thinking through how to get them done. And so I have to go back and redo. Jeremy and I, my partner with Idea Network, just said this morning to me, he said, Josh, I feel like I move way too slowly on things and you move way too fast on things. And so we're a perfect match. I would agree with that. So to do, I get it done. To decide, I'll make a decision. I don't mind if it's the wrong decision. To delegate, absolutely. Give it, I don't want to do it. But to develop, this is my problem. So I have a problem once I know the decision is made, I'm just going to do it. We'll figure it out as we go. And so I would definitely say to develop is my biggest problem. And I need to improve there. Akeem, what about you of those four? And then I want to hear from Walter. Oh, did I break off?
I think I got what you said though. You suggested for me to go next.
Yes.
For me, Josh, is your strength the to do part? Is that what you said?
Yeah, to do, and then to decide. Okay. I'm better there. Yeah.
Got it. So my strength would be to develop, and my weakness would be to decide.
Okay.
So I tend to procrastinate the decision that needs to be made, and a part of that, I think some of us maybe could relate as well. A part of the fatigue in the decision making part is because there's a certain amount of information that's needed in order to make the right decision. And so I want to be able to understand all the sides of the decision before I make it and say, yes, we can move forward with that. And so, that's definitely my weakness. And I oftentimes bottleneck our organization, I bottleneck our team because I'm slow on making those decisions. And so, that's an area that I struggle in big time.
So you have the analysis of paralysis, or the paralysis of analysis, as they say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do I have bad connection? Can you hear me or no?
You do. You're in and out, but we could make up what you're saying.
I can hear you, but you're not moving.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. What about you?
My weakness is definitely development. I'm a doer.
All right, Walter, what about you?
I'm a doer. I'm good at doing things, deciding, delegating. I could use a little help on, but development's probably my biggest weakness.
Yeah,
okay, so we're in the same boat. And why do you think development is so difficult for you? Like, what's the problem? Like, what holds you back from developing the plan? What makes you move forward faster than you should?
I like to see things done, see things get done, and just taking the time to stop and plan a little better is that's a little more time consuming. It feels like I'm kind of not doing. I like to see things done.
Yep, definitely my issue. James, what about you, man?
Yeah, I think I prefer doing. I'm sitting here watching Steve Chevron, and he's getting harvest done. And so I like to see things get accomplished. But I think in the same thing as Walter, I think in developing, I see where I'm going and I know what I'm gonna do, but the details that need to be worked out on the way, that's probably where I struggle. It's trying to figure out what those details are Yeah, because I think I've become a big picture guy over the last few years.
I love it. Steve, what about you, man? You're getting things done. Are you a doer? Do you struggle with developing it? I know you may not be able to read these, but the ideas are to-do list, to decide list, to delegate, or to develop. Which one is the one that you really are good at? Which one is the one you struggle with most?
I would say definitely best at doing, and then deciding, developing, and then my worst is probably delegating. Because small church, you feel like nobody else has time, nobody else wants to, no one can do it as good as I can. All those things get in the way. But best is doing, worst is delegating.
You know, it's so funny you talk about volunteer, and you make a really good point. You do sense this idea that, oh, can you not hear me again? Oh, you can hear me. You sense this idea. I get this idea, and this is my struggle. I pay people to get things done, and so when I start working with volunteers, I just assume they're not going to get it done. And again, just this week with my friend Jeremy Rands at the Idea Network, I've been doing something, and he said very graciously, you know, Josh, why don't you just let me handle that? And I thought, and I said to him, I said, well, I don't want to presume upon your time. And he said, well, I volunteered for this, you know, high level position here. Like, let me do something. And in so many words, he said that. And I realized what I'm doing is I'm wasting him because I'm unwilling to delegate to him, even though he's telling me I want to do more and I'm trying to do it all myself. So I get that battle of looking at individual thinking, I'm not paying him to do it, I'll just do it myself. And I get it done twice as bad as he would do it if he would just do it himself. So yeah, delegation. Just when you think you've learned it, you still have to learn more. It's a great thought. All right, let's jump to that second question. What are the 4 big rocks? What are your 4 big rocks specifically? Akeem did a great job presenting this part, so I'm going to have him jump in first. What about you, Akeem? What are your 4 big rocks that you would say, these are the ones that relate to me?
Yeah. For us, it's activate, which I guess if you double tap on that, like it's the engagement pathway for us. So it's like, how does someone, you know, come from the streets to the seats and are fully activated into our church? And so activate is kind of a place where, you know, I'll take some time quarterly to like double tap on that and say, okay, how do I make sure that we're moving the ball forward and activating and making it better? Yeah, activate's one of those. And then the other one's Sundays. So making Sundays better. This is the second one. Sundays, I've learned this. I don't know if anybody else would subscribe, but one of my mentors told me that preaching, and for me, growth is really important right now because I'm a church planner, right? As far as like a numerical growth is important for me because I need to get to the place of sustainability. But preaching does not grow a church, leadership does. And so for me, it's like one of those big rocks is how do we make Sundays better? And it's not just the Sunday's message, if that's very important. That's the one thing I kind of get evaluated, like, am I a good pastor, right? But there's so many things around making Sundays better that move the ball forward, like worship, what we call stage time, not announcements, but it's like, how do we make sure the next step for people is extremely crystal clear for them? From the streets to the seats, what does that environment feel like? So just those things are making Sundays better. And then the third one is crew, which is small groups for us, and then serving is the fourth one, our volunteer system that we have at Storyline. Those are the 4.
So I'll go next. I would say the number 1 big rocks for us right now is staffing. We've lost staff recently because there was a guy that worked for us. He was terrible. His name is Blake Hunt. He was a mess. He didn't really provide much while he was here. But now that he's gone, we're really upset. He's gone. We've had some other staff shifts and turnover. And so staffing and dealing with staff issues is a primary concern right now in my life. Fundraising. We're breaking ground on a new building in January, and I need to make sure that the funds are coming in. So that's a big rock for me right now. And then improvement, a refocus, I should say, on our assimilation. We are getting lots of first-time guests, and I love assimilation, but I want to make sure that it's solid with Blake being gone, because we're averaging more than we've ever averaged. Our growth is really good, but if we don't properly assimilate them, it'll all just be chaff in the wind. And I've seen that before. All the great growth is going to be gone in 6 months if I don't get people to stick. So those are, I'm saying, my big rocks right now.
That's good.
What do you think? What do you think, Walter?
I got so many big rocks right now.
No, only 4. You only got 4.
Only 4. Right now, self for myself, study, trying to, just preparing a new church plant, preparing to launch. That's probably the biggest thing. My family, health, just health in general.
When are you planting, by the way, Walter?
We're kind of right now tentatively planning a big launch for Easter Sunday.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're starting a church, Walter?
Yep, in New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
With Send Network, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's our people.
What part of New Jersey?
Central. So I get the best of PA and the best of New York and Central Jersey.
Yeah.
What about you, James?
I think right now my big things is along the same lines what you said, Josh, just with my youth pastor. Next Sunday is his last Sunday, and so I've been working to hire a guy, and I'm not entirely certain it's going to work out. And so I'm been putting together a plan of how to maintain and continue our youth ministry. Sunday mornings is a big deal for me right now. It's because just fresh within this church, and so service. And I think probably our elders. So we have elders here at the church, and developing them and then developing our vision in tandem with one another is a pretty big rock for me right now. And so that's something that we're spending time every week with one another, trying to develop that. Those are my big rocks. I don't know if you guys hear all the ruckus behind me.
So 1 year ago. Oh, you're fine. Nobody can hear anything I'm saying anyway. 1 year ago was development of my leaders that was a major focus for me, and I went into 2022. I need to spend more time with my deacons and my pastors, and shift has rock. And Akeem, what do you think? Do you think it's true that our big rocks shift from season to season?
I would say from my counsel that I've been received, yes, but it's not year to year usually for most people. There's only, I would say, a few churches in the world that, their big rocks shift every year because of the size and scale, the momentum they experience on a regular basis. But I would say, yeah, they do shift. For me as a church planner, there's some big rocks, 3 or 4 of them that will remain the same for at least the next 2 more years I have in this phase of the infancy church planting, that was 3 to 5 window. There's a lot of things that start to change at a church plant. So 3 to 5 years in, the church starts to take ownership of the local church, and so we're starting to see that now, actually, which has been super cool, and we're just on the front end of that. And so I would say we have about 2 more years until our big rocks really start to drastically change, and they look different.
Love it. What do you think, Steve Chevron? Talk about your big rocks. That's an awkward statement, by the way. Now that I realize I heard it back in my mind. Go ahead.
The way you said it was awkward. That's.
I didn't mean blush. First big rock that we're dealing with is definitely we're changing a culture of a church that's been around for 50 years, very fundamental in its approach, and very homeschool encapsulated, which, hey, I homeschool, but we're not a homeschool family, if that makes sense. That would be big rock number one. We're changing the culture of a church very slowly. Secondly is development of leaders. Same men have been in the church for decade upon decade. The church had not had any growth, and leadership was very stagnant and very set in its old ways. Secondly is assimilation. That's a big thing for us. We've had a great year where I would say there's probably only 6 or 7 Sundays where we haven't had a guest family at our church, either one person or a family. We've had a great year as far as that goes. But as far as people joining the church, we have probably half our church right now is regular attenders, but they're not members. So that's definitely something that we want to change. And our fourth big rock is developing a better kids ministry and kids and youth ministry. Again, it's just part of that old school mentality. It's good enough. That's good enough for the kids, instead of, is it new? Does it match? Is it engaging? Is it something that kids want to bring their friends to? Is it something that kids want to, so that's my 4 big rocks.
All right. Let's go into that question number 3. What's top 3 things that if you got better, that if they got better this quarter, it'd make everything else better? So I'm going to have to go program or Sunday worship. And the reason is because it was just announced, or it will be announced soon, that we're losing another team member, Akeem. So this guy named Blake Hunt, who was, less than stellar, is now hiring away from us, one of our great staff people, Michael and Abby Simmons. And so now we need more staffing. So this is basically my moment to just complain about it. But yeah, we need some more good music. So we're looking for hires. So have that in place. And again, it's not immediate because they're not going to be January, but what is the need. So I've got to get back in the of hiring. Hey, James. James?
I think, I hear you cut in and out there. I think you went, what are the top 3 things, if they got better this quarter, would make everything else better?
Yes, it's the idea.
Is that the question? Yeah.
As you're kind of filtering it through your big rock.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, all right, so if I address the big rock in quarter 1, it's like, what are the top 3 things that I would need to do to move the ball forward? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I talked with Josh earlier, but I think this is, I'm trying to do some planning this week, and really long-term planning. Like, I think I've got the vision long-term of where the church is going as a whole, but I think, looking at the quarters, if I can really lay out like what is the next quarter and look like, and then what's the next 2 quarters look like, you know, with some details, I think that's gonna help me a lot. And so really, if I can get that knocked off my plate, then I think I can focus on some other bigger things.
So for you, it's really about strategic planning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said,
Walter?
one of my weaknesses is the details.
For me, it's time management. Yep.
What about
You seem-
time?
Yeah, you seem like you managed your time really well with that answer.
Yeah, I was thinking about that for a minute. Yeah, time management. Just putting my calendar together, having a good balance of time. Yeah.
Walter, how do you plan on? Because like time management. That's like you're talking like you're talking like everything you need to get done, managing your time well to get those things done. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? So,
Yeah.
so how do you strategically think through how to manage your time? Is there a certain day of the week or time that you
I
think
try to.
through? Yeah.
I have a template that I plan my days for, and then usually a lot of times something comes in that just throws that out the window, and different emergencies come up, and so I could really need to develop a plan to, I guess, triage those emergencies so they don't throw me off of my calendar, and just get that into a new routine.
Yeah.
I want to dig a little deeper, if you don't mind, Walter. What kind of emergencies come up? Can you give an example over the last 3 weeks?
So a work emergency, because I have a full-time job right now. They'll call me in. They need me in the office. Well, the office is in Times Square. They need me there, and for something, somebody's computer breaks and they can't get anyone else to fix it, or they need me. That's one. That's probably my biggest ones right now. Usually they're with the full-time job emergencies. Yeah.
Thank you. Steve?
Steve?
You guys hear me?
Yep.
What would change? What was the question?
What top 3 things, if got better this quarter, would make everything else better?
Oh man, we got like 6 families. If they would all join, that would be great.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I got a wedding I'm doing Saturday for a couple that's coming in, and well, they were both saved, and anyway, that'd be great. You know, honestly, we need to change how decisions are made in our church. We've adopted, I like a leadership team approach. I love that. But these other guys, they have their own business. They're working hard. They're grinding, and I feel like they're the Jeremy Rands and I'm the Josh. I want to get it done. I want to see it going and moving, and they want to take their time and pull back on the reins. I would love that. I would love for that to take place. Other than that, I just need to be a better leader.
Yeah, you and me both.
I'll be a better leader, or I
Mention-
need to become a follower. One of the two.
That's fun. We should have a conversation sometime, Steve, about how to properly lead within how do you properly lead in a situation where you are one of the leaders in the room. And let's get that number one, that fourth question, because we have a solid 2-minute warning here. If you could only get 3 things done this week, what would they be? We can go ahead and knock off the obvious, and I hope it is obvious to you that time with God and time with family supersede any of this other stuff.
Yeah.
I know we feel like we don't have to say it, but really it needs to be stated. But outside of that, what are those 3 things? For me, I have to write about 4 presentations. One is a presentation to my staff about a situation. Number 2 is a presentation to ABW, and then number 4 is my sermon for 2023. If I could get those things knocked off my list, I'd be very, very happy. Oh, here we go.
That's weird.
Well, Mike, come back in. And it looks like Steve was trying to finish up work. He had all of that. Back on. It's like we just jumped in. So what would you say, Walter? I mean, I jumped away by saying what mine were. What about you? The things that if you could get done now, what would they be?
I need to, for me, it's find a place for our church group to meet this weekend. We need to find somewhere to meet that won't cost us a fortune.
Right. Do you have any options yet on the table?
Right now, the best possibility is a school. But yeah, it's not a definite.
All right, we're coming in on the tail end of the breakout rooms. Hope they all went well for you guys. I know they did for us. What I want to do is I want to kick it to Josh Tice first, and then Jeremy, if you guys want to give us like a 45, 60-second review of your room, and then we'll talk about what we've got coming up next week. Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great conversation in our room when my internet connection was working properly. Great conversation as it relates to priorities that need to be done immediately. It was just in our room. It was family being obviously top priority, your walk with God being a priority, and then for what fits in after this. So my internet not working.
It's pretty spotty. What I've heard you say, though, has been really good. While we're waiting on Josh, Jeremy, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, we had a great conversation, and Akeem, thank you so much for all of your points. I think just truly identifying what those 4 big rocks are, because we have a lot of rocks, and it isn't the fact that we don't have a lot of rocks. What are the 4 that are the biggest that we have to do? And for senior pastors, preaching is the thing that we have to do. Robbie was on ours, and he just mentioned with that, he gets that out of the way on Monday, at least the outline of it, because it's the most important thing. So those rocks, he protects himself. He's able to have a staff that can help protect him. But if we don't have a staff that's able to help us in those areas, we've got to come up with different systems so that those 4 rocks are protected. We get those things done, and we stay focused on those things so that we don't create bad habits. So that was a great question, Akeem, and we had a lot of conversation based upon that.
Yeah, Akeem, really great content, and we enjoyed that in our room as well. We were starting to talk about the rocks and the things that we need to get done just this week, and guys mentioned everything from we need to hire a staff member to I need to have a tough conversation with this person about this. And it was really good. It generated some really good discussion. A couple of the books, Akeem mentioned Getting Things Done by David Allen, also talked about developing the leader within you and developing the leaders around you. Those were resources that were mentioned kind of in our room. And then if you're looking for 4 big rocks, maybe you don't have 4 big rocks or you can't identify them. I want you to reach out to Tim Wilcox. Tim has his 4 big rocks. It's his church purpose statement. It's all alliterated. He's got scripture for each one. Tim was phenomenal. He's been around the block a time or two. So Tim Wilcox shared that, but really great discussion in our room as well. Did we get Josh back? Josh, are you where you have a stable connection or not yet? Okay, maybe not yet. One final word that I want to let you know about. We had a great discussion last week as well with Brian Sams about the translation transition, and that replay is available. Want to encourage you to go ahead and register for the summit in the end of January, but don't wait till then to register. You've got a discount as a member, and so make sure that you use that. Next week, we are going to hear from our very own Josh Tice, and he is going to be talking about sabbatical. And I'm looking forward to that particular conversation. Sabbatical, creating a culture of rest. And Josh took a sabbatical earlier this year. Maybe some of you have thought about doing that. You're interested in that. You have some questions. Josh is going to share with us next week a lot of the things that went into his decision and the sabbatical that he took this year. So you do not want to miss out on that. Special thanks to Akeem. Akeem, thanks for being with us today, leading our discussion. Really great talking points there, and we will have him back with us. To the rest of you, hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for joining us live, and have a great week thinking outside the box. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.